So what exactly is Cartenon Temple? What's the point of it? Who's the mastermind behind it? How did Jinwoo end up getting his powers from this place? And why is this guy so creepy? Well, turns out the temple was built for a very dark purpose. The temple, or the double dungeon, didn't just mysteriously appear out of nowhere. It was all planned and designed by an actual god. So the rules, deaths, and horrors that you saw in that double dungeon were all meant to happen. All because of Sung Jinwoo. You heard that right. Jinwoo was the reason behind all of this. But don't get me wrong, it's not his fault that a lot of people died. He also had no idea of what the hell was going on. But yes, the Cartenon Temple itself was specifically designed for him because he was chosen for a very twisted reason. So as soon as the temple appeared, Jinwoo was being watched and put to the test by a godlike being. The test was pretty tough since everyone was dying. Yeah, no big deal, right? Thankfully, Jinwoo's gamer instincts kicked in. It helped him quickly figure out the rules written on that stone tablet. A few of the hunters somehow managed to survive, but then Jinwoo messed up by accidentally running to a killer statue and lost his leg. Despite this, he bravely decided to stay behind. Well, he didn't really have a choice. So he sacrificed himself, allowing the rest of the party to escape safely. I know it's sad and terrifying, yet Jinwoo had to die, or at least have a near-death experience. But why? Because it was all part of a plan, a necessary step. To be honest, they never fully explained why Jinwoo had to face death, yet I've got a crazy theory about it, and I'll explain that later in the video. So, after losing a leg and nearly dying, Jinwoo passed the test, and that's how he was chosen by the system to become a player. The system is pretty much a video game. Jinwoo has to complete missions, and every time he completes one, he levels up and beefs up. However, the moment Jinwoo accepted this system, he became a tool that could be used for something sinister. To fully understand the true reason behind why Jinwoo was chosen, let me first tell you about the origin of the double dungeon, or the Cartenon Temple. So let's start with the most notable one, the creepy statue sitting on a throne. It was actually inspired by a god known as the Absolute Being. He was the one who created the rulers from light and the monarchs from darkness. The commandments written on the stone tablet were also inspired by the Absolute Being. Just a quick reminder, the rules were, thou shalt worship God, thou shalt praise God, and thou shalt prove thy faith. Those who fail to obey these commandments shall not be spared. These rules represent events from the past, since both the rulers and the monarchs worshipped, praised, and proved their faith to the Absolute Being. Okay, so in short, the Absolute Being was this OG god, the most powerful deity that ever existed. He was untouchable, and then he died. Wait, what? Yeah, he was killed by his own creation, the rulers. When the rulers realized their battle against the monarchs was just entertainment for the Absolute Being, they killed their creator. This is probably the reason that the statue in the temple was very creepy. It smiled because it represents the dark side of the Absolute Being, as he enjoyed watching his creations kill each other. To understand this more, I've covered the Absolute Beings, rulers, and the monarchs in detail in another video, if you're curious. Quick side note, did you notice Cartenon Temple kinda sounds like Parthenon Temple or the Temple of Athena? It's interesting since both are about gods and have so many statues. Now, aside from the Absolute Being, you'll see another interesting statue in the dungeon. Remember this statue with the hood? Yeah, the one holding the commandments? He was a powerful sorcerer known as the Architect, the guy who created the dungeon and the system. He did it to find someone who could become a vessel for the Shadow Monarch, the King of the Dead, Ashbourne. Now, who the heck is Ashbourne? For those who don't know, how could you? He's the first Shadow Monarch. And there's only one thing you need to know about him. He's a total badass. Think of him like John Wick of the monarchs. He's so strong that everyone, and I mean both the rulers and monarchs, were afraid of him. But before he became the Shadow Monarch, he was also a former ruler and the only one who stayed loyal to the Absolute Being. So after the rebellion, Ashbourne switched teams and joined the monarchs. However, Ashbourne had one big problem, and that is he's so damn powerful that he couldn't find a vessel. The question is, why is finding a vessel a huge problem? Let me explain. Monarchs and rulers are like spiritual beings. They don't have their own physical bodies, so they use humans as vessels. This is their only ticket to enter the human world, which means no vessel, no entry. That's it. Since they've chosen Earth as their battlefield, both rulers and monarchs need a vessel to influence Earth and gain an advantage over each other. And you're lucky if a ruler chooses you as their vessel because they don't actually control your body. You still have your own free will. Plus you'll gain some crazy superpowers. But if you become a monarch's vessel, well, they'll completely take over and you'll lose yourself. So now back to the main topic, Ashbourne needs a vessel. At this point, the architect knew it was his time to shine and place his deal on the table, saying he would find the perfect human for the Shadow Monarch, but on one condition. The architect wanted to become immortal. Well, damn, that must be very pricey. Regardless, for Ashbourne, this was a pretty good deal, so he agreed. To be honest, I think there's another reason why the Shadow Monarch accepted a deal. Yeah, I know he really needs a vessel, yet I've been thinking, can Ashbourne really turn you into an immortal? Yes, becoming his shadow or his vessel could really make you immortal, but would the architect agree to that? Especially with his cocky attitude? Definitely not. Unless he actually wanted to become a shadow. But then Ashbourne isn't exactly a fan of the architect. Probably because, you know, the guy's a little psycho. So why did the architect even suggest this deal? Was he just being silly? Or wait, maybe it has something to do with Ashbourne's old power from when he was a ruler. Whatever the reason, the architect went ahead and created the system to find the right vessel. However, it turned out that it wasn't as easy as expected to find Mr. or Miss Perfect Vessel because a vessel had some not so average requirements. Number 1, this human must be highly responsive to mana. I'm not sure what that means. Do you? Number 2, someone with the muscle to tussle, aka superior physique. Number 3, a human with a strong mentality, or in short, a smartass. I know those are some hardcore requirements right there, but these 3 aren't the toughest part yet. The most difficult one is, according to Ashbourne, no living thing could become a vessel for death, unless, you know, you're dying inside. But I believe that this is why Jinwoo had to die or almost die in the temple, so he could become the perfect vessel for death. Now, the architect spent years searching for the right match. Imagine him like he was swiping left every time someone wasn't perfect for Ashbourne. Then Ashbourne found the perfect guy for the job, a skinny dude who's always getting his ass kicked, Sung Jinwoo. And yeah, after seeing Sung Jinwoo, Ashbourne finally swiped right. Jinwoo might be weak and always on the brink of death, but Ashbourne chose him because he didn't play by the rules set by the architect's system. Okay, let me explain. The system was designed to predict any response to any outcome, but Jinwoo was unpredictable. This made him stand out and ultimately allowed him to break free from the system. Even if the architect disagreed, Ashbourne still chose Jinwoo. The architect didn't like this idea. I get it. Pretty much made it seem like Ashbourne could handle everything on his own, which made the architect look like he didn't do his job right. So, to avoid getting fired, the architect made it possible for Jinwoo to adapt to Ashbourne's strength by using something humans love, playing games. It's game time. When Jinwoo finished quests, defeated monsters, and leveled up, his body changed and slowly became more suitable for Ashbourne's power. But of course, as positive as it might sound, the system wasn't really designed to favor the player. It was all for the monarch. Remember what I mentioned earlier? That monarchs can dominate their vessel's will and fully take over their body? Jinwoo was supposed to experience the same thing. So when he reached level 100, or should I say level 101, the architect invited him back to the double dungeon for his final test. If he defeated the architect, he would learn everything he needed to know. As Jinwoo went toe-to-toe with the statues and the creator of the system, it wasn't an easy fight because the architect had banned Jinwoo from using his shadow army. However, these restrictions didn't stop Jinwoo. The architect finally realized why Jinwoo was chosen. For the first time, a being who's like a god was terrified of a mere human. When the test was over, the architect kept his promise, and Jinwoo saw a vision of Ashbourne's past. He witnessed the war between the armies of the rulers and the armies of the monarchs. Jinwoo saw how powerful the King of the Dead was. He also witnessed the two monarchs, Baran, the Demon King, and Rakan, the King of Beasts, betraying Ashbourne. Yet, even with their combined forces, they didn't stand a chance against Ashbourne. Finally, after Ashbourne killed Baran, Jinwoo saw himself within the body of the first Shadow Monarch. And from Ashbourne, Jinwoo received the Black Heart. The Black Heart will make Jinwoo lose his consciousness. He needs to disappear for Ashbourne, the King of the Dead, to descend and walk the earth. Damn, this plan is messed up. Well, it turns out it didn't go as planned, and it wasn't part of the deal.
That wasn't part of our deal, Blackheart! That wasn't part!
Because Ashbourne didn't really want to control Jinwoo in the first place. He actually wanted to transfer all his powers to Jinwoo, making him his successor. So Ashbourne just betrayed the architect. And when the architect realized he was scammed, he tried to fight back. The bad news is, since the system was made from Ashbourne's powers, which means that Ashbourne could control it, he took away the architect's ability to use the system. The architect was totally helpless when Jinwoo chopped him up and killed him right at the Cartenon Temple. Guys, I've been thinking, if Ashbourne has the power to control the system and this magical UI is made from his powers, who truly is the mastermind behind the Cartenon Temple? Did Ashbourne want to kill the hunters there in the first place? Or was it just the architect's idea? Here's what I think happened. The architect didn't agree with the Shadow Monarch choosing Jinwoo as his vessel. I think he created the Cartenon Temple to prove to Ashbourne that he was wrong and to test Jinwoo. If Jinwoo failed, then they could consider those who survived the double dungeon. Basically, the whole point of the Cartenon Temple was to see who was worthy, acting as a filter to find the best candidate to become the Shadow Monarch's vessel. In the end, Jinwoo proved he was the perfect candidate, showing Ashbourne was right all along. Now, what's the reason why Ashbourne betrayed the architect? It's both an apology to the rulers and payback against the monarchs, because these guys betrayed Ashbourne too. That's why he didn't want a vessel, he wanted a successor. So this whole mess of getting the architect to build the temple and develop the system to find a vessel for Ashbourne was rigged from the start.
Truth is, the game was rigged from the start.
Another reason is, watching Jinwoo and spending more time with him made Ashbourne truly happy, to the point where he didn't want to lose Jinwoo. Then Ashbourne said, "I became you, and you became me," meaning he and Jinwoo merged into one. Jinwoo became the new Shadow Monarch, and finally, Ashbourne returned to the eternal nothingness, lifting all the power limits from Jinwoo. Henceforth, the system created by the architect was completely deleted. The only problem that remained was the 8 monarchs. Just how strong were these guys, and how did Jinwoo manage to defeat all of them?